Hi guys, I hope you're having a beautiful day today. In this pick-a-card reading, we're going to be looking into the question, why did this person pull back from you? And what fears are they mirroring to you right now? There are three groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Obsidian. Group 2 is the Amethyst. And group 3 is the green Fluorite. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups, or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection, and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the Obsidian. So let's start by taking a look at why did the person on your mind pull back their energy from you? Okay, we've got the Seven of Swords, the Three of Pentacles, and the King of Cups. So there's a sense here with these energies that this person might have thought in some way that, like, the way you love, the way you express yourself in an emotional way, or that you're very like focused on following your heart in general, this is something it feels like that intimidates them, because I'm hearing you love very loud. And so even if this is something, you know, where you weren't diving in deep and quick with this person, there's a sense that they anticipate that you're someone that when you love with your whole heart. You're a very loyal person. You give what you expect in return. And so there's a sense here of feeling that, like, where they're at in their life right now in terms of experiences that they've had with previous partners and the way that reciprocity happened or it's coming through like didn't happen, there's a sense of almost this person feeling like, I don't know if I'm equipped to be comfortable with like what you have to offer. And this doesn't speak to any kind of like fault on your part. This is almost somebody that has kind of like retracted their energy, and they're like asking themselves, is this person too good to be true? Am I just stepping into a trap here? There's a sense that like they have this kind of sense that you might be able to give them the kind of love that they were always hoping for, they were always seeking, they never had found or experienced before. They might have given up on the reality of that, kind of just chalked it up to fantasy, or felt like maybe it wasn't in the cards for them in this lifetime, or that it was unrealistic. And yet you've come along and there's already been these indicators, these kind of like glimmers of awareness on their part that you're the type of person that they have been seeking. And so this is almost somebody that's like, I need to pinch myself to see if I'm dreaming. I don't know if I'm like prepared to sort of handle what comes next within this situation, because I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to fumble this circumstance. I don't want to let my fears get the best of me, because there's a sense that they also feel that you're like very intuitive. And so there's also this energy of like fear has no place within the love that you're capable of giving or that you expect in return. So this is somebody that's almost needing to kind of like build their courage, build their kind of like ability to stay very present in the moment with you. And there's almost a sense of like letting you take the lead in this situation, which may be kind of a relief, but is also uncomfortable for this person. So let's get a few more cards about this and see what else you need to know. Why did they pull back from you? have release, scavenge, and isolation. So it feels like in your presence, this person is very aware of how they've settled for the bare minimum in previous circumstances, or their romantic past might be kind of sordid, like they might have been in very cheap connections, very low connections. They might have done some things in romance that they weren't proud of, things that it's almost like if we progress forward with one another, I'm gonna have to like let you know about certain things, or there's almost like a fear of like their past coming back to haunt them in some sort of way that's going to make you feel that this person is like trashy, or that they're tarnished in some sort of way. And there's a big fear that if like their personal past were to come to light in some sort of way, you were to find out about that, or like the kind of people that they'd settled for, or, you know, maybe this is somebody that's like a player, they had a lot of one night stands, or, you know, the nature, the caliber of people that they'd kind of like, because it feels like this is somebody who wanted like a big romance and wanted like a big love, and that never happened. And so it's kind of like, okay, I'll just go for like cheap people, tacky people, you know, whatever I can get, I'll just kind of like settle into that, kind of diving in and out of circumstances, or a lot of different situationships that spoke to like a low self-esteem. And there's a sense of like, if any of this were to come to light, there's a big fear within this person that like you dump them, you drop them like a bad habit, that in some sort of way it feels like it's almost they've tried to kind of move beyond that behavior or that tendency, or it might have even been like while they were scraping the bottom of the barrel in terms of these like situationships, these casual connections, you know, hooking up with really like trashy people, or, you know, things that were kind of like below them, like low caliber experiences. You've come along and it's almost like, okay, you're what I've been looking for. This is the type of connection that I've been looking for, which it's kind of, this person may also be kind of in this process of sort of like tying up loose ends with some of these other people, you know, kind of closing out those sort of lower vibrational connections. There may be people that had like reached out to this person, and so they've kind of like pulled back from you, not to try and sort of see is the grass greener on the other side, or like with these other people, but a sense of almost like I need to very like diplomatically kind of close out of these circumstances, because some of these other people might be very petty, very jealous, very like low vibrational people. And there's a sense of this person like not wanting to kind of infect the connection that they have with you, or what they're building with you, with these other circumstances, people that might have even just been like flings, or, you know, again, like situationships where it's not like they could have been juggling those things simultaneously, but there were just like open lines of communication, kind of like, okay, hit me up when you're in town, or, you know, if you're feeling lonely, we call one another, that sort of thing. And so it's almost like somebody or a couple people could have surfaced in that sense, sort of blew back into this person's awareness. And there's a sense of, rather than just like ignoring or ghosting those people or blocking those people, for some this may be where they're going through the contacts and they're like blocking people, they're taking things off social media, you know, they're closing down kind of like their social media presence on like dating sites, or, you know, kind of like adult sites for some people. That could be a factor here, something that's kind of like a shadowy energy that they're not exactly proud of, but it's how they were living their life as a single person. It's their past, it's their history. But there's a sense of almost like wanting to do things right, so that there's like closure for these other circumstances, and they're able to sort of not bring an energy forward too, because it feels like this person is only like temporarily pulled back. It's like they want to move back towards you, but in a more unencumbered way, so that they are again able to not like miss out on this opportunity with you to kind of experience the love or the type of connection that they'd always hoped for but never found with other people. And so there's a sense of kind of like, I got to tie up these loose ends so that none of this kind of comes back to bite me in some sort of way, or, you know, I don't have these kind of other things that are just sort of very ambiguous, or there's, you know, it's kind of these open-ended sort of things. so that that doesn't potentially come to like interfere with what we have or what we're building, and you find out about that, or you know, somebody reaches out to you, something like that, and then you toss me to the side. So there's a sense that this person really like wants to invest with you, but there's also a sense of, even if some of these things are like, you know, with these empty tin cans that are kind of kicked over, it's those things could have been done, these could have just been past experiences. This is somebody who's almost trying to kind of like shush their inner critic that is telling them like you've given yourself away to other people, or you've entertained like cheap connections, cheap experiences, and that's your past. But this experience in the here and now signals the opportunity to move towards something healthier, something more wholesome, something more like, you know, in the light of day. Like you're the type of person that this individual could take home to meet their parents and not be embarrassed about it. Some of these other connections, it's kind of like, yeah, I wouldn't want to even admit in public that, you know, I slept with that person, or, you know, that we had these exchanges with one another. It's things like that, like parts of their past that they're not proud of, that they're having to kind of like move beyond, or, you know, maybe even kind of like compartmentalize the memories of, so that they don't miss the opportunity here and now, so that they're not like judging this potential with you here based on like whatever they've done out of loneliness, out of desperation, you know, out of just like living life, seeing what was out there, sowing their royal oats is coming through as well. So somebody, you know, that might have been a player, they might have just like, I'm going to keep my options open, and that could have been, you know, anything that came through the gate. They were willing to settle for anything. They didn't have a standard. They weren't picky. They might have even sort of looked at connections like that as matters of conquest, notches on the belt, kind of like how many people can I be with, and that'll really feed the ego. You're offering them something different. And so there's a sense of understanding that there's a requirement to, again, like release, like this Three of Cups kind of energy, release sort of even the version of themselves that would have, you know, had this kind of past. And this may have even been something that was a past like a long ago. This person could have been single for a while. They could have like outgrown this, but in some sort of way, where you're at with one another, or what you're offering, or like who you are as a person, it's triggered the memory of this, or it's triggered the awareness of like, I got to deal with this one way or another. So if this past surfaces, or it feels like someone that may want to be honest about that with you, even just, you know, kind of glazing over it, but speaking on it in some sort of way, that they do so with the energy of like, I'm trying to be transparent, I'm trying to be honest, because they almost like don't feel worthy of you in some sort of way. And maybe you had a past, maybe you had experiences similar to this, and it would just be kind of like, hey, get where you're coming from. You know, I've been around the block too several times, you know, things like that. But it's like they're seeing you and what you're presenting at this point in time is like, it's an upper echelon of experience. It's a dignified experience. It's something that is very positive, that's very high vibrational. So this person's almost like fighting their demons right now, a sense of like lack or unworthiness, that's caused them to kind of like pull back. Or again, for some, this is somebody that's kind of like, they're cutting off those situationships. They're kind of, you know, creating that closure with people that they'd had a loose understanding with, or, you know, even people that kind of just circle back around from the past. They're creating that closure, they're creating that distance, so that you're able to see kind of like, hey, these are the efforts that I've made in order to prioritize kind of like what we have, or what we can build. So let's take a look at what fears they are mirroring to you right now. Okay, so we've got peacock, tarantula, and starfish. So there's definitely the energy of like memories of the past, and kind of a feeling of sort of like, maybe you're reflecting on your own past in love. You're kind of feeling like, hey, there's a spark, there's a possibility, there's a potential. I've worked on some of my, you know, lack of self-love, my fears of opening my heart again to love after, you know, whatever had kind of washed away in past experiences. There's a sense that this person like wants to get it right with you, and in some sort of way, there's also an energy that they're mirroring honest effort on your part of like, like you want to get this right with this person. You want this to be a dream circumstance, not a nightmare. And so this can definitely be something where, as this person has kind of taken this time to themselves, they've pulled back, they've distanced themselves, they've gone quiet, something has shifted in their participation with you, or you're just feeling that the energy's a little bit off, a little bit scattered. There's kind of this sense of like, try not to take it very personally, or, jump to like worst case scenarios, like those fears coming to life, like, okay, they must be talking to someone else. Okay, I've said the wrong thing, or I've done the wrong thing, or, nothing kind of like works out for me romantically. I get my hopes up and they're kind of, collapsed again. Like all of that may be sort of happening for you in terms of like rumination or overthinking. There's a sense of like, this person is also in their own way ruminating and overthinking. You're mirroring each other at this particular point in time. And so there's almost a sense of kind of like, give this person a minute, give them the benefit of the doubt just for a minute, and take some time to really kind of, sit with and sort of chew on that idea of like, okay, maybe this energy, it's almost kind of like they're pulling back in order to kind of insert themselves more kind of like dominantly within this situation. They're pulling back to sort of tend to some things on their side of the equation so they can come back forth with more clarity, with more certainty, that maybe it's not a bad thing what is happening right now, it's a good thing. This may be an opportunity for you as well to kind of look at what are some things that you can kind of close out, you can kind of, do on your side of the equation to make sure that like when this person, comes back towards you, that you're matching each other's energy. And that can involve like situationships that you've had with other people, maybe giving those an honest look and like, is that really going anywhere, or is this time to create closure or distance with that? If you've got any exes that you still kind of like, you keep around, you keep them on the back burner. You even have those like memories, those experiences, you kept the text messages, still got the photos. This may be that time to kind of like meet this person that you're watching the reading for in that energetic space of like, okay, it's time to delete those photos. It's time to delete those text messages. It's time to like close the door to the past fully so that this connection has a fighting chance to be something great, to be something successful without these fears lurking around, without the sense of kind of like, okay, we're clinging to these expectations of like everything's going to go wrong, everything's going to fall apart, that you're each going to, judge each other or be judged by each other, that it's almost like this is an opportunity to move past disappointments with other people. This is an opportunity to kind of really step into a higher level experience with one another, to strut your stuff, both of you, in terms of like, it may not even be anything where you need to kind of like, hey, so while you were away, I went and, deleted all the conversations with my ex-boyfriend from 5 years ago, and I feel really great, so I'm able to invest more of my just like, energy, my psychic energy, or you're creating almost like space through that sort of ritual action of deleting things that are no longer relevant to your current reality, that creates almost like an energetic void or a vacuum where the exchanges between you and this current person, the person that's on your mind, the person you're watching the reading for, you can have more of those positive exchanges with one another. It doesn't need to be anything that's necessarily spoken on. If there had been some kind of insecurity, some kind of jealousy that had been tripped or triggered, this may be something where they're coming back and wanting to convey or communicate those things to you, and then you'll be able to say like, yeah, I've thought about the similar kind of things. I've taken those similar steps to really just create closure, burn the bridges to the past so that I'm able to be fully present in the here and now, which again kind of creates this open space for the two of you to capitalize on a dream experience rather than just kind of the replication of like the nightmarish situations you've had with other people, or that you've put yourselves in at times when you were operating in a lower vibration, where you were younger, you were more naive, you were less experienced. This is kind of an opportunity. It feels like this energy is really speaking to kind of like two people who, have their battle scars from love and are now kind of scared almost to sort of like let the other person see those scars, a fear of being judged for those things, or for the ways in which experiences in the past have kind of shaped the way you trust, the way you exchange, the way you love. Again, this person is like they're very intimidated by the fact that like you love with your whole heart. You seem like the person that you're loyal for, past the point that it's reasonable, and they can sense maybe that has, jumped up to bite you on more than one occasion. So this is somebody, it feels like, that wants to do right by that quality within you, because it's like everything that they've been looking for. And so they're kind of tending to their side of the street at this point, sort of, cutting the grass real low, cutting off circumstances, maybe even going through their phone to delete pictures, delete text messages, things like that. Not to hide anything from you, but just like, that part of my life is done. I'm clearing away that clutter, that nastiness, that lower, experience that I had with other people, or from, a time in my life when, I was unattached, or I was lonely, or I had different priorities. It's like clearing all that away, so they can bring something that, they're able to be more honest, they're able to be more above board with you. And so it's definitely something, if you feel inclined to do that as well, that's a good way to transmute that kind of overthinking or worst case scenarios to kind of like, okay, maybe it's not kind of, horrible things happening in the dark, kind of behind the scenes, within this silence between me and this individual. Maybe they are really doing kind of like something to prepare themselves, or prepare their environment, prepare their energy, prepare their heart space for what we can have with one another moving forward. So like, what can I do within myself, or within my own kind of experiences, to do the same, in order to like have this clear energetic space. Your focus is on clarity, on the present, on the here and now, and like forward facing. And that can be a really good way to kind of match this person energetically. So again, when they come back around, when they kind of like pick up the pace as far as your communications with one another, that become more present, or their energy just kind of feels more stable within your interactions, or even with what you're able to sense from afar, that it's kind of like, okay, you've been working as a team, even when you've been doing this work kind of silently for yourselves. So let's get a few message cards from their higher self and see what they want you to know. And they say, I was selfish and took you for granted. Please forgive me. Yeah, so this is somebody, it feels like that they weren't looking for anything serious. They weren't looking for anything as intense as what they've experienced with you when you first met, or like earlier on in your connection. And so this is somebody that it feels like, again, they're preparing their energetic space. They're preparing their heart space in order to come back towards you and offer something more than was the case in the past. They recognize you as a rare individual. You're someone very special, very unique. You're someone very important to them. And so there's a sense like, I want to do right by you. I want to do right by this situation. And the best way that they can do that at this point is kind of like facing some sort of element of like guilt or shame, or like self-loathing, or ways in which past actions or other things they've been involved with romantically is not a reflection of like the person that they're trying to become, who they are in your presence, or even kind of like who they've evolved into. Again, this could be like things from more of like a distant past, or like not recent past actions, but it's kind of like, I need to kind of clear the memory of that away, confront those memories, again, kind of like delete those contacts, delete those messages, delete any photos that they have, not to hide anything, but just so that it's kind of like, that chapter of my life is done, that version of myself I release, so that they're able to be like present in a very open and honest way with you moving forward. They also say, I have everything I want except for you. Yeah, so this person, again, you're very important to them. You're very special to them. You fit the description totally in all ways of like what they have wanted in a long-term partnership, in a real love and a real experience with another person. You're the type of person they have looked for, they've never found before, they've never met anyone like you. They've given up hope that, a person that kind of like loves the way you do, has a level of compassion that you do, kind of like sees the world as you do, or loves themselves in a way that enables them to kind of like love other people wholeheartedly in the way that you do. That was like, I always wanted something like that. I didn't think that it exists, and now here you are. So this is a sense of somebody who's really trying to, again, kind of prepare the energetic space, prepare the mental space, prepare the emotional space, prepare their actual space to dive in deeper with you, show up in a more strong and consistent way moving forward. They also say, I know I'm running out of time. So this person is aware that maybe what was like an abrupt pulling back of their energy, or you could have had like a really intense experience. It felt like you were operating on the same page with one another, and things went cold. They shifted up on you, or, became a little more distant, or just kind of feels off. They understand that, like, you're probably thinking the worst case scenarios. You're probably thinking like, okay, great. Here's a repeat of, past experiences that I've been through, past disappointments, or, maybe this person's talking to other people. Maybe they don't like me. Maybe I said the wrong thing, or, I'm not what they're looking for. Like, they're aware that their silence or the switch up has created a lot of uncertainty within you. And so there's a sense that they don't want to like keep you waiting any longer than necessary. But a lot of this, in addition to kind of like actual things that they're needing to do, there's some kind of like summoning the courage inside of themselves to believe that, like, yeah, you two have a connection with one another because they are worthy of such a connection. Yeah, you're someone who loves loudly, you love with your whole heart, but they're worthy of that, and efforts on their part to match that, or to, provide that to you, that you're the type of person that would appreciate that. You'd receive that. You'd be able to reciprocate in a way that nobody before has. So you're this person's dream person, and it feels like they'll be coming back towards you very soon. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got I, T, V, C, B, T, K, S, M, J, O, G, L, and I. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you would like a personal reading, I offered those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another video. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. You chose the Amethyst. So let's start by taking a look at, why did the person on your mind pull back from you energetically or actually? Okay, so we've got the Two of Pentacles, the King of Cups, and the Page of Pentacles. Okay, so with these energies I'm hearing, I got spooked. So something that you said to this person unintentionally triggered them. It may be something that is very similar to the way that an ex-partner talked about things, certain things that a previous person that they were dealing with were interested in or involved with, only that person kind of took it to a dark place, took it somewhere very negative. And although you are not presenting as like a red flag to this individual, it's something that nevertheless kind of like the wheels started turning. They were off to the races, and it was kind of like, okay, if I move forward in this situation, am I just going to be ending up with kind of like the same type of person, the same type of individual that I've needed to like heal from. I've had to kind of like work to, you know, change what I'm attracted to, what I'm calling into my life, what I'm going towards romantically or in other people. Like, is this something where I'm just falling into the trap of like I'm not as healed as I thought I was, or I've tried to make better choices, but I'm still just stuck in a pattern. So it feels like this person, this was almost like an accidental kind of like flinching, something that might have been very instinctual on their part, but now they're in this energy of feeling very stupid, very foolish for having kind of like misjudged you or assumed the worst, or in some way like comparing you to an ex-person, an ex-partner, that it's a sense here of like you and that individual are like night and day. There's no reason, there's no rational reason, there's no like logical reason. You've given no indicators other than kind of like something that was said, the way you phrase something, or something that they discovered or found out about you. There's nothing else that would make them reasonably believe that like, okay, this is just a test from the universe. Have I learned my lesson already? You know, and that to proceed forward with you would just again be like falling into the same hole that they had taken, you know, a lot of time or a lot of steps to kind of dig their way out of, or claw their way out of, in terms of, you know, the way in which this is almost the idea of somebody like that they were in love with or in a relationship in the past that like totally misrepresented themselves, or they presented like one version of themselves, and then when they got in a romantic connection, or this could have even been like a long-term connection, and like over time it's like a whole other face of this person kind of came to the surface. That other person might have quickly revealed that, you know, they weren't everything they presented as, or there was like a whole different side to them that this person was kind of like trapped with, very unaware, you know, caught in the midst of, very unaware. There's a sense here as well that this could have to do with some kind of something that has to do with like the relationship to money or to finances in some sort of way. This can be something where like a past person sort of like used this person for money, you know, or might have kind of like lied about things financially. There could have been addictions that were a factor. Not that it's you're presenting as somebody, you know, that's going to lie about money, or that you've got addictions, that you're going to use this person, but there's something in terms of just like a similarity between you and where things are at between you and this individual, and almost like a feeling of kind of like, okay, I feel safe in this person's presence. I feel like I can trust this person. This is somebody that might have even been considering like taking the next step with you, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, what did you say? Wait a minute, what is that hobby? What is that interest? What is that kind of like thing that you're describing about like your life, or your goals for the future? What is that perspective that you have? And it's almost like, again, they were just off to the races. Just it triggered some kind of like deep old wound within them, where now they're in this energy of like, what did I just do? Why did I just pull back like that? Why did I just sabotage in this situation? You, the viewer, are nothing like that other person. You're nothing like their ex. You're nothing like that other person that kind of, whatever this thing is, whatever this kind of tendency it's, or, you know, that was just kind of like a quality within this other person. It's almost like there was a whole other laundry list of things that were like an obvious red flag within this person that might have been discovered like in the relationship, or, you know, this could be something that was like an early heartbreak, where it's kind of like they didn't know better until they knew better, and it's kind of like they've been walking a tightrope ever since, trying to avoid that one specific type of person. It's something where they may be a very like choosy or selective person, like anything that even kind of smells like what that other individual had going on, or, you know, what they're kind of they have in their life, or their perspective, their goals, their values. This person avoids it like the plague. And so again, it's something that you might have even just jokingly kind of, you just said something, you didn't, it was just casual. It was not like anything that meant anything. thing. It's not, maybe it is a big deal or it's not a big deal for you, but it's something to where now this person's like really embarrassed. It's like the reflex was to recoil and question, and then they were embarrassed that they did that. They're embarrassed that this wound still has a hold of them. This is almost somebody that may feel like, I thought I was ready for love. I thought I was ready for another relationship. I thought that I had like successfully kind of like healed my past or cut away from my past, or I was making better choices for myself. And now here I am, not in a circumstance where they're calling in just a replica of that other circumstance or that other situation. Because again, like you and this past person are like night and day. This person like sees now that like, oh, okay, I made a misstep here. I made a boo-boo. I didn't like do the right thing in this circumstance. Like I need to check in with myself. There's something I need to look at here. But there's a sense that they are kind of like, okay, their ego's been kind of cut down to size in some sort of way, that like there's still a lot of fear within them of like the past repeating itself that has kind of thrown them off kilter within this situation. And then it's kind of just like a moment of embarrassment has kind of snowballed into this experience where now it's kind of like, now there's awkwardness, now there's distance. This person might have just totally ghosted. They might have just totally cut off communication. And there's a sense of like feeling very foolish about that. So let's see what else you need to know about this, like why they pulled back from you. Okay, so we have release, displacement, and wrath. Yeah, so this is something where a very toxic or messy situation from their past has done a lot of damage on this person in terms of like their ability to trust. It feels like trust is not given lightly to others, and they are quick to kind of like release situations or push people away at the slightest indication of toxicity, at the slightest indication of like a repeat of history. Because whatever this was that they went through, that someone else put them through, they really put them through a ringer. This might have been something where it turned their whole life upside down. It changed the way that they view love and partnerships in general. It could have definitely created like issues with commitment, issues with trust, issues with intimacy, like a whole range of things. This person, it feels like, was very angry about that situation and what it did to them, what it did to their life, what it did to their ability to trust and to love. They're still holding a lot of anger about that other circumstance, about that other person, and kind of they're here now in this present moment, but there's definitely the sense of the ghost of the past still has its claws in them, still is holding them very tightly. And so there's a sense of almost kind of like, before I can proceed forward with you, I got to go in and be very angry at myself for what I allowed in the past that is now, this person's like very frustrated with themselves. They're not blaming you. There's a sense that it's almost kind of like they feel intruded upon by the memory of a past circumstance in a past situation. I'm hearing she won't let me go. So there is a sense here again of like somebody that really did a number on this person, that as much as kind of like they thought that they'd move beyond that, they thought they were ready for a new relationship or whatever you had going on with one another, it's kind of like, and this is not an ex that they're in contact with, it's just kind of the emotional toll, the damage that has been done. It's still a really raw wound within. They've not been able to heal this. And there's a circumstance of like feeling very mad about that, directing a lot of anger not towards you, but towards this past situation, where it's almost kind of like, and there's a lot of shame as far as that's concerned, because there's a sense here of almost like you deserve more than somebody who you're going to have to walk on eggshells around. You deserve more than somebody who's going to kind of judge the present by what someone from the past did, as far as like doing them dirty, or, again, kind of creating all these issues within them as far as like trust or relationships, not being able to kind of like take things at face value, always kind of looking over their shoulder, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like this person is very much, they're in the midst of that right now. And so there is a sense again that they kind of were like, they got scared, they got spooked. It's kind of like, okay, is this just the test from the universe? Is this the lesson repeating itself? I can't go through that with another person. I can't open my heart. I can't build with someone and then come to find out that I've been bamboozled. Come to find out that it wasn't what I thought it would be. Come to find out that, where there was love, there is now wreckage, and I'm having to rebuild from the ground up again. So it may even be that it's something where this is like the potential to reconnect with one another. It's an incentive for this person to kind of like do more to close up this wound, or to really kind of like face the reality that like, yeah, you can still have this wound. You can still be really pissed off at your past or what someone from the past put you through, and you can still experience something new with someone different. You can have space within you for both of those things. It's almost like this person had some kind of belief, maybe something that somebody told them, or something they were telling themselves, like, I got to be fully healed before I go into love again. It's almost like they're kind of like working through some sort of puzzle that perhaps this connection with you, whatever maybe is still possible to like salvage or resurrect here, that may be the missing piece for their healing. That may be kind of the medicine that's required to calm this very angry wound within them, to where it's like, this is not someone that wants to return to an ex. It feels like the idea of that ex person, maybe even hearing that person's name, it really brings up a lot of anger within this person, a lot of rage, a lot of frustration, a lot of shame that this individual or this circumstance from the past still has power over them. And so there's a sense of almost kind of like, it feels like this isn't over between the two of you, but it's going to require some work on this person's part to really get a handle on that, to kind of like jump in, almost like jump into the deep end with you is the only way to kind of like move forward beyond this. Because it feels like there's something that's almost like what you could have with one another, what you could offer to this person, the version of them that would have to kind of like rise from the ashes of this broken past, is the version that like against all odds is going to trust in love, like just one more time is going to trust in love, and it's this circumstance. And it's through kind of this slow progression of like, there are no guarantees, but we're showing up for one another every single day, when it's messy, when we're wounded, when it feels comfortable, when we feel safe. And I'm feeling this is like bringing up a lot of emotions within me. Yeah. So this person is like, they're really frustrated. They may have even like shed tears over this, kind of like, what did I just do? Why did I just make this person feel confused when they didn't do, like, you didn't do anything wrong? Is something very like innocent, or it's something about you that is totally unrelated to kind of like whatever this past person had going on. It's not even the same comparison. And so this person is almost like feeling very much like defeated by their past, like they can't seem to shake it. They can't seem to kind of like move on in some sort of way, like they were trying with you, they were trying within this circumstance. This may even be something where this has happened before, this same kind of situation where it's like, okay, I've got this whole list of things I'm looking to avoid, and I meet someone else, I meet someone new, it seems to be something that's good, but then I'm right back where I started. I either self-sabotage, or maybe other people they've tried to date, tried to have relationships with past this kind of like big yucky breakup that they had. This could be a divorce, or just like a very toxic X that they had, like a very two people that brought out like the worst in one another. And it's kind of like, okay, I've made the effort to change. I've tried to do better. And for a while they were kind of magnetizing in the same circumstances. And then for a while it was like different things, and they were at fault for, kind of messing the situation up. Maybe, like hurt people. They could have stepped into that energy for a while. But it's like, with you, it felt like, okay, maybe I'm beyond all of that. Maybe I've really risen above that. Maybe I've really gotten a handle on that. And then here the two of you are in this energy where they've pulled back. And it feels like, again, this is somebody that's kind of like, they're really pissed off with themselves, really pissed off with that past person, almost, for kind of like, look what you did to me. Look what I did to myself by getting into that situation. Feeling almost like a prisoner of their past in some sort of way. And there's a lot of shame that goes with this as well. Like there's a sense of feeling like, I know I could talk to you about this, or this might be something that could help to strengthen our connection, so you'd have more perspective of kind of like what I'm working with emotionally or where I'm at emotionally. But it's almost like they're so mad that they've just gone silent. They're just kind of like clenched inside of themselves. And so this is definitely a sense of, again, like it wasn't your fault or you didn't like do anything. This is definitely some kind of like unresolved wound within this person. So let's take a look and see what fears they are mirroring to you right now. Okay, we've got Phoenix, Lamb, and Dragonfly. Yeah, so these speak about like the old patterns, the old story, the old narrative. This definitely could have been like the first person that they were in love with that just totally shattered their illusion of love. They were changed forever in the aftermath of that, like the worst breakup. This may even be bringing up fears within you of kind of like, am I too broken to call in anything new? Am I just somebody that has been so damaged from love that like I'm only, or something within me is broken and I'm only calling in these damaged people? These people that are going to hurt me. These people that are just going to like make me regret opening up to others. They're having these same kind of feelings. The idea of the sacrificial lamb. Things that the two of you have both been through in the past from past people, where it's like versions of you were burned to the ground and you had to kind of like pick yourself up piece by piece. You had to rise from the ashes. You have both taken steps to kind of like change your ways, heal and evolve, beyond the wreckage, beyond the version of you that participated in certain things. Anything that was like a very kind of detrimental breakup where it changed a lot of things for you in terms of your physical lives and reality. You've made the effort to like turn over a new leaf. And then here is this circumstance where it's like things felt they were good, they were going great, and all of a sudden it's like a tripwire was hit. And it all collapsed. What happened? What did I say? What did I do? It's like you're both kind of sitting in that energy, kind of like, what happened? Wait a minute. Why did I freak out? Why did I panic? Why is this the case? We were taking steps forward with one another. I was opening my heart. I was trusting. I thought it was right. I was trying to move forward with the energy of innocence, the beginner's mind. I was trying not to judge this based on the past. It took a lot of courage to say what I said or do what I did, or, be very present in the moment with this person and with this situation. And now we're each in our separate corners. Maybe this person can feel you're angry, you're frustrated, angry and frustrated at yourself, angry and frustrated at them. Angry and frustrated at the universe, kind of shaking your fist at the sky, like, why? Why does this keep happening to me? And so it feels like this is something that you might have met this person at a time in your life where you've created enough closure for yourself and enough belief in new beginnings that this is really the opportunity to embark on the experience of a higher level love. And for this person as well, like your roads have intersected at a point where it's like you have all those tools, you have all that energy inside of yourself. You've cleared out karma You've closed out certain cycles. But there's a sense of almost kind of like an illusion as far as like higher level love's concerned, that it doesn't just come in as like, okay, this is the sunshine and rainbows that I was hoping for. It's almost like you both have to kind of like walk across those sort of like hot coals within yourselves, in terms of like, okay, yeah, this higher level connection, this higher level love is possible, but I'm scared shitless about that. I'm scared to get what I want. I'm scared that this is like, that this is really happening, that this is really for me, that this is really this person, that these fears, that this anger, that these wounds that I've tried to close, which are still obviously open or have been reopened, that that's just as much a part of me as how I've evolved beyond those things, what I've done to kind of recreate myself, or to, you know, focus on kind of like what's going well, or what remains, or what is possible. That there's almost a sense here of mirroring this energy of like facing the, like owning fears within yourselves, and needing to kind of compare and contrast what's possible versus what people in the past had shown. People that might have given up on the two of you, or had forced the two of you to kind of like run for the hills in order to save yourselves, or people that, you know, had kind of like abandoned you, and then you're left to kind of pick up the pieces out of confusion. That there's a sense of this higher level love. It's earned. It's earned through a willingness to kind of like show up on the good days, show up on the rough days. And so there's a sense of like mirroring this connection to the two of you, that like, yeah, this person feels some kind of way about their actions. You feel some kind of way about their actions, but there's something to work with in that. That's an incentive to push. That's an incentive to try. That's an incentive to kind of like activate a true level of patience with yourselves and with one another, that might have only been like a cliche. It might have only been a slogan. It might have only been kind of like, yeah, I want a love that's patient and kind. But when that's put to the test, when the rubber hits the road as far as that capacity is, how far are you willing to go in that circumstance with one another? And so it feels like this is a mirror to almost like a portal for the two of you. Once this person kind of like gets their bearings, once they kind of like, you know, shadow box with the ghost of the past once more, maybe they've had to learn different coping mechanisms, healthy coping mechanisms, or something that they're needing to kind of, you know, explore at this point in time to deal with that frustration, that anger, that rage inside, self-directed and directed towards the past, and how that has changed that person in a permanent way. Whatever they have been through, they are now permanently a different person. Having to kind of like own that within themselves can allow them to sort of present in a different energy. You went as far as you could go with one another through this kind of like, I'm willing to take a chance on love. I'm willing to take a chance on this connection. I've done my homework. I've done my, you know, due diligence. I've done my healing work. I've closed the door to the past. I've healed certain things to the best of my ability. You went as far as you could, each of you, with that. And now it's time to almost kind of transform, to metamorphosize once again into the next echelon of yourselves, that if you're both willing and able, you can come back towards one another. Not like, hey, I'm sorry I overreacted, I'm sorry I freaked out, I'm sorry I triggered, you know, nothing like that, but kind of just coming to ignite with one another up into that higher plane, up into that higher plateau, something that may be a series of these steps in order to reach that true experience, that embodied experience of higher level love, which doesn't come easy. It takes work to get to that. We achieve that when we are brave enough to face our fears, and strong enough to allow others to see us in that fearful place. When we let go of the illusion of perfection and instead embrace the reality of who we are, and how we have been shaped by our life and by our experiences, that's kind of this energy of disclosure between the two of you, that it's mirroring a fear of that, a fear of being like seen for that, for your own series of triggers and reactions, and how to respond to that in some kind of way. So it feels like all hope is not lost within this situation, but this person is almost needing to temper something within themselves, or kind of like alchemize that anger and that frustration into fuel and motivation to like fight, to get back into your life, fight to present themselves in a way that they're not just gonna, jump at the first trigger. They're now aware that this has happened, that this is a possibility, that those wounds from the past are still very fresh as much as they have tried to close them. And to come with that knowing into the acceptance that like what you can create with one another, what you can build with one another, what you bring to the table, and them for you, like vice versa. You may have the medicine inside each of you that the other person needs to really kind of pave over that open wound, cover that with something, with a different kind of experience with one another. Like, I see you for who you are, as a person that has been shaped by good and bad experiences. And I'm showing up for you anyway. I'm allowing you to show up for me anyway. So let's get some message cards from their higher self and see what they want you to know. Okay, and they say, I didn't mean to leave you behind. Yeah, so this person is like, they're really frustrated with themselves, that they flinched, that they pulled back, that they ghosted, that they've kind of like, this is something that may have been very startling, very stunning to you. It might have really pissed you off, kind of like, okay, I'm not going through this again. Maybe you've been through this with this person, or it feels like, this could be like a pattern that you've tried to eliminate from your reality of like avoidant partners, or, hot and cold, sort of wishy-washy energy. You've been very proactive and kind of like, I'm not tolerating that. I'm not tolerating that kind of nonsense. I've been through that, and I know where that leads. And so this person this is not like how they wanted to present themselves. This is not something that represents like the full capacity of what they're capable of. And so it's somebody that is like very fearful that they've blown their chance with you, that, you're not going to be receptive to them, or that your guard is going to be up so much that it's almost like, okay, great. Now where do we go from here? Now I've kind of just like, I thought that there was progress in this situation for myself as a person, or between the two of you, and it's almost like one step forward, two steps back. And so they're very frustrated with themselves at this point. Yeah, and they say, I want to be honest with you, but would you reject me? So it feels like it's kind of a slippery slope with this person. They want to speak to you. They want to create communication. They have something that they want to share as far as their fears about love, their fears about commitment, maybe even sort of like a glimpse into that very toxic and damaging connection that they had in the past, and how that's kind of made them skittish as far as connections or trust is concerned. But there's a sense like, I don't want to just come in with a bunch of excuses. I don't want to come in and make you feel like I'm just trying to sort of talk my way in circles around what is very unacceptable, what was very hurtful, and so they're trying to be very like choosy with their words. What is too much to say versus what is not enough. Yeah, and they also say, you are my home. So this is a sense of like, you represent what clear communication should be like. You are the light that they are reaching for. They are deeply magnetized towards you. They want to show you a different experience than you've had with them up to this point. They feel that the two of you, again, have this ability to maybe build a higher level love. And they may have thought that, from the beginning or earlier on, or, even kind of like right when this happened, it might have been like, wow, okay, I think I want to take things a step further. And then all of a sudden, here's this trigger, and we both have recoiled, or this person kind of recoiled from you. And, you're feeling some kind of way, they're feeling some kind of way. And so there's a sense of kind of like, okay, if I give up now, then we'll never know. Or this is an opportunity to kind of like, okay, this is part of the foundation of who I am, who you are, that, we need to try to fix. I need to try to fix within myself, because I don't want to lose you. I don't want to miss out on this opportunity with you. They feel that like the two of you are really good with one another. You make them feel very safe. if you make them feel very kind of light, very, happy, there's a sense within them of kind of like you've shown them an experience of love that already has helped to erase some of that hurt from the past. But they've only gotten like a taste of that or a glimpse of that. So again, this is somebody that now is kind of being even instructed kind of by the universe within this, because there are no accidents of like, okay, you've got a taste of this, but in order to call this person home, in order to, really build a bond with one another, you're going to have to kind of acknowledge that woundedness within and proceed forward anyway, or, find a way to kind of get a handle on sort of that rage or that resentment towards the past, so that you're not depriving yourself of the opportunity to have a beautiful and different kind of experience in the future. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we have M, W, P, G, A, Q, P, E, I, R, O, F, J, B, and X. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another video. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the green fluorite. So let's see, why did the person on your mind pull back from you energetically or actually? Okay, we've got the Ace of Cups, the Eight of Cups, and the Five of Wands. So with this Ace of Cups, with this big heart here, I'm hearing, because I fell in love with you. So it feels like this person has caught feelings, or they've come to a place in themselves of like thinking of you as the one that they want to spend their life with, the one that they want to bring in closer to their reality. And so this is almost the sense of like they pulled back from you because they are doing some soul searching at this particular point in time, about how to kind of like what the next appropriate step forward is. It feels like this person is really deep in their feelings at this point, and there's a sense of like, whoa, I need to take a grounded and practical approach to this. I can't just ask you to run away with me tomorrow. I can't just ask you to marry me. We've only known each other a short amount of time. Or maybe this is someone you've been dealing with in a long-term sense, and it's like, okay, I'm very certain that you're the one that I want to marry. So there's almost a sense of kind of like they've put up a little do not disturb sign between the two of you, because they're planning something in secret that's really gonna like blow your mind. It's gonna be very shocking for you in the best possible way. It's bringing to mind the idea of like a surprise party or something where it's kind of like wanting to make the next step between the two of you very special, very meaningful, something that will be a very beautiful memory created, that can be kind of like the initiation of a series of conversations, a series of steps, a series of well thought out plans and actions forward that kind of like lead the two of you to the place where like, okay, now the moment's right. Now this is the time for me to kind of pop the question. And that idea of pop the question, maybe for some of you, this is somebody that's like out looking for a ring. They're out kind of like strategizing, sort of like, okay, where am I going to do it? Where am I going to ask? You know, what's that going to be like? For others of you, this is something where it's like they're coming to terms with the fact that like you've captured this person's heart. You have cracked their heart wide open. I'm hearing I was never a believer in love. So this is something that you may have encountered somebody that was very jaded as far as connections were concerned, you know, or they had kind of like a certain idea about, okay, you know, you're with someone or you're dating someone for a certain period of time, and love is just something that kind of like grows on you, or, you know, it kind of develops over time. And then all of a sudden it's like, here they are, you know, feeling like a teenager again in your presence. Here they are understanding almost like the meaning of love at first sight, or something that has come upon them very quickly, very suddenly, very unexpectedly. It feels that this person, you may have also caused like a heart chakra activation where this person could have pulled back from you because they're in the midst of some kind of ascension. They're in the midst of kind of like a heart that was closed off maybe for this whole lifetime, or for a very long time. You've almost like brought this person to life, you've brought them back to life. And so energetically it's a lot. There may be things that they're having to purge and kind of clear out, in terms of like past energies within, past ideas of love and connection, things that may be even happening in the subtle realms that are making them kind of like, they don't know what's happening to them. They just know that they feel like the warm and fuzzies on steroids almost when they think of you or when they're in your presence. And so there's a sense that there's things that are like happening to this person energetically to prepare themselves, mind, body, and soul, to take the plunge, to take the next step, to, you know, fight kind of the maybe an over logical approach, or kind of a not so much like a need to control the outcomes, because it feels like this is somebody that wants to control the outcome. They want to seize the moment. They want to make this permanent between the two of you. They want to claim you. They want to make you theirs. But there's a sense of almost kind of like they may be using silence as a ruse. This is something that can also, this speaks to kind of like a cheeky sort of energy, because this is somebody that's almost like, I know that you're all confused. I know that you're probably thinking like, okay, you know, they lost interest, or maybe this wasn't what I thought it was going to be. But it's almost like they want to use that element of surprise to their benefit. This is somebody that's like, I want to see the look on your face when I show up and you answer the door and I get down on one knee and I pull out, you know, that velvet box for you. I want to memorize the look on your face when you hear from me next. And instead of just kind of like talking about the weather, or talking about things that are very superficial, or, you know, bringing you a bunch of excuses, or, you know, even just ignoring this awkwardness where, you know, I confess my feelings to you. I tell you that I love you. You know, this is almost somebody that's like, okay, we need to talk. I'm going to meet up somewhere. But it's almost like they're like planning something in almost like a sneaky kind of way, not to let you down, not to dump you, but they're wanting you to kind of like, again, sort of think about worst case scenarios, so that when it's the totally opposite of that, when it's like everything you could have hoped for, when it's something that's like really friggin' romantic. Like, this is somebody, it feels like, that it's gonna shock you and surprise you, whatever they're planning behind the scenes. They may be getting other people, kind of like recruiting other people to help them with this, people that will be like kind of filming the moment, or, you know, they're kind of like calling in favors to try and set certain things up so that there's like a special date, there's like a special experience between the two of you. There's something that you have like no idea about, because it feels like they can't keep a straight face, or they can't keep it bottled up from you at this time. So it's almost like, okay, I gotta just, it's radio silence until it's the time, until it's the moment, until I've kind of like gotten all those plans in place. And they want you to feel very, very kind of like, you know, guarded. They want you to feel very standoffish. They want you to kind of think, okay, here it is. They're going to dump me. Here it is. This is that breakup conversation. Here it is. And it's like the last time I'm ever going to see this person. It's kind of, this is goodbye. But instead it's hello to like the best chapter of your experience, to something very positive for the two of you, for something that is kind of like, for this person, it's a very genuine moment. It's something that they're taking very seriously. It's something that they're looking at almost like a sacred moment, like a rite of passage. This person is just like sitting in this very ambient energy, in this very zen energy, when they think of the future and you and what the two of you can have with one another. And this isn't somebody that wants to just like sit up in the clouds and kind of like, wow, this is great, this is that fantasy, this is that fairy tale. No, this is somebody that is like not wanting to waste time. They're not wanting to kind of like argue with this feeling inside that you've like cracked them wide open. They are kind of like you. And this is interesting because this might be something where you could have like set a boundary with this person. You could have been like, hey, I choose me if you're not going to give me any kind of like clear understanding of what you want. You showed them some kind of tough love, or you showed them that you're somebody that you don't play about your time, you don't play about your heart, you don't play about your life at this point, and it made them fall head over heels in love with you. It's kind of like, yes ma'am, whatever you want. You're the dream person, you're the dream girl. This is what I was waiting for. This is what I was wanting. Somebody that is like strong enough to stand up to me, that isn't just gonna placate, isn't just gonna kind of, you know, waste their time, isn't just gonna kind of be in this sort of like good girl or, you know, yes man kind of energy. This is something where you showed this person your claws in some sort of way, or you showed this person that it's kind of like, respect me, or, you know, I have no problem being alone, or, you know, you can kind of just like go to the bench, I don't need you, like that kind of an energy. And it feels like something that has happened in that sense, that like they've gone silent, they've pulled back. And this may have even been something you didn't even know that you did this. You could have just been like talking about something. It could have been, you know, where you like asserted yourself, you were a little more dominant within this situation. You know, you might have been like, hey, I got a lot going on with work, with school, with these other priorities, like, you know, I'm not going to have a whole lot of time to interact with you right now because I got this thing that I'm working on, or this thing that is taking center stage. Where this person might have almost felt like you pulled back your energy, you prioritized yourself, and instead of them being like, the ego's hurt and it's kind of like, well, I'm not getting my way, fine, I'll just go find somebody else that'll like, you know, worship me, it'll pedestalize me. It's kind of like that was what they needed. That was exactly what needed to happen for them to be like, oh, what do I need to do to kind of like make you mine? I want you. You're mine. You're my perfect other. You're the yin to my yang. You're that dream person. So again, this is somebody that's like, they're pulled back from you, but they got some things going on behind the scenes, surprises that are very elaborate, that it feels like are going to be very pleasant surprises. So let's get a little bit more about this. Why did they pull back from you? Okay, we have dominance, mischief, and direction. Yeah, so with this mischief and direction, I'm hearing, I'm trying to mislead you, but there's a sense of like, they know that you're like in the mindset, or you're the type of person where you're not going to play games with them. There's almost something where it's like they find the level of maybe like self-love, or the fact that you're just like, I'm not gonna play around with you, and like you've responded to their pullback with like, okay, I'm just carrying on with my life. I'm not gonna chase you. I'm not gonna sit around and cry. I'm not gonna like lose sleep over this. They find that so endearing. They find that so cute. That is something where it's like you can really hold your own, which is very attractive to them. Again, there's that dominance energy. You may have put your foot down with this person. You might have been somebody that was kind of like, hey, at this point in my life, I got these other things I'm working towards. I got these other priorities. How do you fit into that equation? Because I'm not, losing myself in a connection. I'm not going to put my dreams aside in order to accommodate somebody else. Like you've got some momentum, you've got some ambitions, you've got things that are central, that are very important for you. And so this is the sense of kind of like understanding that you require somebody that kind of meets you in that same independent vibration, which this person like sees, yeah, I can match that, I can do that. And so this is somebody that's thinking how to lock this in with you. They've pulled back and in this way, very consciously, of kind of like, oh, I'm in love with you. I want to make forever out of this. And they've retreated. They've retracted, not because they're afraid, not because it's like, oh man, this is too much, too soon. I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready. There's a sense of like, I am absolutely certain that you are my person. And so now this is where the strategist comes into play. This is something where this is almost kind of, and this ties into that mischief. This is something that in hindsight, you will be able to look back at this experience of the events that led to this pullback from this person, something that may have happened recently, with whatever that kind of like action is that they're going to take, that involves like misleading you for a period of time. So there may be something where it's like you're both in your separate corners, just living your life, doing your thing. You don't hear anything from them. They post very little on social media. They might just be in kind of like hermit mode. It's like a curtain is drawn over this situation. But when they pop out, when they connect with you again, when they invite you somewhere, they show up, what the gifts that they come bearing with them, what they bring with them, what those encounters lead to, not just kind of like, okay, I want to put in more effort. I don't want to be low effort with you. But it's like with this Eight of Cups here, it's almost something that's like they're planning. So like, okay, I'm going to show up at their door. I'm going to call them. I'm going to text. I'm going to email, DM, reach out. And then we're going to have these conversations, and it's kind of like they're baiting you in a very like good way to kind of get you in this position where then it's like, okay, after, a couple of weeks or something that they don't want to like draw out for very long. It's kind of like, then we have that big conversation about, I want to make things serious. Then I ask you to move in with me. Then I pop the question. Then there's this full disclosure that is not just like, I'm doing this out of an act of desperation to not lose you, but it's like they have never been more certain that they want to experience something long term with you. They want forever with you. And it's something that in hindsight, because it feels like this is somebody that's going to want to like, okay, so then I made this plan of action, and I thought it was so cute how you were frustrated, and that was just the state of mind I needed you to be in. So that when I surprised you with kind of like that conversation you needed, that dream proposal, that kind of like perfect situation where I asked you to be my girlfriend or asked you to move in or whatever that looks like, so that would be a memory. That would be something that like we would talk about for years. That would be something that wouldn't just be like, oh yeah, so, in this year, we took things a step further, or, we were this old when we decided to kind of progress forward. But it's something that they want to kind of like have that be a very like showcasing moment within your situation, that in hindsight, you're gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh at this whole thing. And it's something that it feels like demonstrates a part of this person that they want to like show you they are a creative lover. When they love someone, they're not just like, I want to fight for the connection, I want to like, secure my place in your life. But it's like, this is somebody who has the ability to bring a very fresh, a very vibrant, a very imaginative, a very playful energy into romance. This person may be, kind of a practical joker, or, they kind of just, they got a good sense of humor, or, are very kind of like, maybe even sort of like childlike. They could be an old soul, but they're kind of like childlike or whimsical in some sort of way. You may already like know that about this person, but there's a sense of kind of like seeing the translation of that in terms of romance beyond what you've known up to this point. There's a level of depth. There's a level of like timelessness. There's almost like, I want to make this next step between the two of us so sacred that I'm gonna hide in this place and then pop out and present you with kind of that big surprise, that right moment, that thing that you like need to experience, so that all of this frustration and the sense of like, whatever, I'm just gonna carry on, I'm just gonna do me, that kind of like dissolves into almost like, they want like tears of joy. They want happiness. They want something that creates like a very profound memory out of this experience. Not just we went, there was some space, or we took some time apart and then we kissed and made up, but it's again something very conscious on this person's part, like, okay, I've made up my mind, my heart has decided you are the one, you're the one I want to progress forward with, and I want to demonstrate that to you in a way that it's not just words, but you see that there's effort, there's thought, there's planning, there's action behind that. Oh, and this is also coming through that despite this, it's not gonna, that has come through here where you're like, great, okay, you've just ruined the surprise. Like, no, you have no idea how this is gonna play out with this person. For those of you that are like resonating with this, that this is something like, even with this kind of idea or this understanding or this perspective, it's like this person is so kind of like crafty, or they're able to kind of like move in silence, move in secret, like move in the shadows, that you're really, it's going to surprise you. This may even be something where they like recruit some of your friends to like get you in a particular location where you're not even thinking you're meeting up with this person, and there they are with that, you know, down on one knee with the velvet box, and like everybody knew about it but you. It's that kind of an energy where you're not going to see this coming, like when this person reemerges for you. So let's take a look at what fears they are mirroring to you right now. Okay, we have beaver, otter, and sea serpent. Yeah, so this is kind of the sense of sort of like, okay, you know, this person like understands, yeah, I got this big surprise plan, but it's kind of a risk based on like who you are, how independent you are. You know, they're like 99.9% certain that you're going to be into this, you're going to be receptive to this, that it's going to be something that's like, no, we were distant, but I was holding your hand the whole time, with this otter energy right here, that like, no, this is all part of the big plan. But there's a sense of almost kind of like that one little door of possibility of kind of like, what if you don't see kind of the genius within this plan? What if you know, in that kind of like hyper independent, that deeply self-loving energy that you embody, what if this is something where I fall flat on my face when I try to present this to you, when I enact my master plan, and it's not just kissing and making up, but it's like taking things very substantially to the next level, or to a new kind of experience with one another. This is kind of almost like again, this person's not really fearful, so it's kind of difficult to sort of say what fears are they mirroring. It may just be for you that you're kind of like, okay, this was just a waste of time. I just came full circle to the energy of like, here I am back in my own energy, single again. Here's another person that has disappointed me. You know, maybe after a series of people that you've needed to kind of step into this version of yourself that's willing to kind of kick over a situation or hold your own where your needs aren't being met, or you don't feel respected. You don't feel, although it doesn't feel like this person was disrespectful, but it's almost just like the silence. You're not going to chase them. You're at a point in your life, you're like, I know my worth and value. I'm not chasing anyone. I magnetize to me. What is for me will not pass me by. Like that kind of an energy. So there is something where this person is a bit intimidated by that. And so it's kind of like, okay, I'm really certain that like this is going to go well, this is going to be received by you. But there's always that possibility that kind of like, I'm taking a risk here. I'm playing with fire and I might get burned. That I'm dealing with somebody who's very empowered, who matches me on that very kind of like strong and confident level within themselves. And so what if this is kind of like my lesson of sort of like, you need to maybe show up in a more kind of consistent or honest way, that this may be something where it's like, if this person's kind of like a practical joker, or somebody that kind of does things in unorthodox ways, or kind of eccentric, maybe in general, this would be something that would sort of, you've gotten hints or glimmers of that, or you're aware of that within this person, that might actually be something where it's like, yeah, that's well received, but this is kind of like from that point forward, then they're needing to kind of like temper that in some sort of way, or it may kind of, activate some part of you that is receptive to that. This person may be the type of person that comes in or is in your life to help you loosen up, to help you enjoy the moment, to help you kind of like not take life so seriously. So it's kind of like this, a little bit of a fear on their part, of kind of like, well, what if you don't find this very endearing? You don't find it very charming? What if it's something where I touched on some kind of nerve that I don't know that I did, and even though I've got like really good intentions and it's going to be beautiful and I think you're going to love it, what if you don't? That's like a very small voice within them, because it's like overall they feel this is going to work well for anyone that they've already kind of talked to, or that they're planning on sort of letting in on about this, or that it's helping them. It feels like they've explained to these people, or will explain to these people, more about their motives, and it's like they're getting the applause for that. Like, wow, that's creative. Yeah, that's going to be something, she's really going to like that. That's going to be something that is really memorable, is really monumental, is like very magical. But then there is that little bit of uncertainty, is kind of like, well, what if you don't like it though? What if it's not kind of what you were hoping for, or what you were expecting? And it feels like on the opposite side of that coin, that's why this is this yin and yang kind of energy. For you, it's probably just like, okay, another one bites the dust. Let me kind of just carry on. Let me continue to focus on what I've been focusing on. Let me just do me, because I have shed the version of myself. I closed out that cycle where I'm just going to crumple up in a ball and grieve over someone that doesn't see my worth, doesn't appreciate me, isn't fighting for a place in my life. You might already be with this kind of like, all right, they've drifted out of my reality, so I'm just holding my ground. I'm just holding my space. I'm kind of just, I'm not going to get all frazzled about that. And which is kind of like the antithesis of fear, but it feels like you're both really complementing one another, in terms of like, this person's very, very certain that their plan is going to be something well received. And then there's a certainty within you that like, whatever happens, whatever kind of like comes into my life and stays is what is meant to be, and whatever comes into my life and then kind of moves along just wasn't meant to be. So let's get some messages from this person's higher self and see what they want you to know right now. Okay, they say, I feel lonely, if only you knew. Yeah, so this person, they're very hopeful that they're kind of like the next step towards you, even kind of just like leading with the heart space, putting in a lot more effort, actively kind of directing this connection towards that long-term commitment, towards that experience of kind of like, it's you and me forever. There's a certainty within them that like, this is something really good. This is something very positive. This is something that will strengthen your understanding that like, they're not like other people that you've dated, they're not like other people that you've known. This person is capable of like pulling out all the stops as far as love and connection and people that matter for them are concerned. But there's a sense of like this waiting game, kind of like standing in the shadows, processing that heart chakra activation, setting those plans in action, like getting all the details just right, they don't want to be away from you. They're kind of feeling very impatient, sort of like looking at the clock, looking at the calendar, like, okay, let's hurry up and get to that point where I can, make my presentation. I can state my case. I can, do that grand gesture. I can make that kind of elaborate display of love. They don't like being away from you. They don't like the silence, even if it's kind of like the element of mystery is sort of like using the element of surprise to their advantage. Yeah, and they also say, you don't know it yet, but I'm planning to surprise you. So there's that direct confirmation of somebody that's like, don't think this person's pulled back because they've just dropped off the radar or they're out of your life. This is somebody that, they're coming back with something big. They're coming back with something meaningful. But again, that Eight of Cups, it may be sort of like, for those of you that this isn't like, they're proposing, they're asking you to move in with them. It's kind of like that leap forward. This is somebody that's kind of like, okay, when we are connecting with one another again, when maybe you're the one again that created some sort of distance, or they created some sort of distance, it's kind of like, all right, I come back towards you and I'm more proactive in terms of how I express my feelings. I'm more enthusiastic in terms of, the efforts that I make towards you. I'm leading us in that direction of more romance, more openness, getting to that place where, like, I can tell you, I've fallen in love with you. I am in love with you. I have feelings for you. They are deep. They're not just fleeting. This isn't just puppy love. This isn't something temporary. Like, this feels big. This feels right. And you start those series of conversations in that direction of like, what next for the two of us? Yeah, and they also say, I don't blame you for walking away. So for a lot of you, again, this could be something where you're like, hey, I'm really busy with something, I don't have time for this, or if they're being kind of like nonchalant, sort of just like sitting in that very dreamy energy of like, wow, this person's great, wow, this is wonderful, but there wasn't a whole lot of action taking place, or even if they sort of pulled back and you kind of just carried on, you're just continuing to live your life, you're not missing a beat, you're not letting this kind of throw you off balance. This person sees that as very attractive. This is like everything that they want. You're someone who can hold your own. They feel chosen by you. They feel like when you choose to exchange with them, when you choose to talk to them, when you choose to spend time with them, when you choose to engage with them, that this is something that it's not lost on them, the value of that. They see you as someone that you value your time, you value your energy, you value your life, and kind of like who you allow in your life. So that is not lost to this person. It's almost like a privilege to be part of your inner circle, to be somebody that is relevant rather than just an acquaintance or a passerby or a stranger. And so this person wants to, again, kind of like you're looking one way, you're thinking one thing about this situation. It's like they want to pop up and surprise you. They want to help to kind of turn this situation, not just around, but kind of like lead it to the next level, to a place where it's like we're walking side by side in that empowered energy. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got C, I, N, A, O, F, X, H, G, V, T, S, D, and Y. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another video. Please take care and be well.